Morning, everybody. Welcome to Wealth Wednesday. Happy to have you all here. Let's get to work. Not a reminder to team members, your colleagues, your compadres, your battle buddies. Let's get them in here. Let's get to work. And then we got some deals to analyze. We got some opportunities to conquer. There's a deal we're putting together. So we will be breaking that down here in just a moment. So GM. All right, let's jump into quote of the day. This one's always stuck in my mind, and it's funny because what it says and that it's doing it. A man's mind stretched by new ideas may never return to its original dimensions. Isn't that interesting? You know, that's one of the things I like telling people when we're teaching them velocity banking. I say, hey, at the end of this workshop, you're not going to be able to unthink the ideas we're about to give you. Right? It's a weird way of saying the same thing. Unthink. A man's mind stretched by new ideas may never return to its original dimensions. Oliver Wendell Holmes Jr., OWH. So anyway, that's what we do here. We stretch your mind to such a degree that it'll never be the same again. We're literally changing people's, not just changing their mind, but changing their life with ideas. So keep spreading a good word. Keep telling everybody about Renatus, the E3, the opportunities, the difference we make. And then a difference will be made in your life too. So GM to that. And as a reminder, if you want to send these videos that corporate is making and you want to have an external link to be able to send them out, you will just navigate yourself over to the video library in the menu bar. And then depending on what you want to send, something from Snyder, something from a student, then you filter it here and use the share links. It's quite an extensive library. Right on. Anyway, you can filter it through generally speaking, Renatus reviews. I don't know why you would send a guest to a founder's webinar, but the Money Matrix videos are also pretty interesting to get you thinking. I think there's 100 something videos in the Money Matrix as well. So anyway, right, share link, and that'll just automatically copy to your clipboard depending on which one you click on. So there you go. Use them, send them, share them. It's working. It is working. Quick reminder about the First Flip Challenge Accelerator happening in just a few days. Jason Andrus is going to be there as well, teaching how to buy properties at a discount. If you remember, we spoke last week about the major difference between discount and cash flow. Obviously, we want both, but one is going to add to your net worth, keep it safe in case you need to liquidate, leverage. We want the discounts, and don't let a realtor tell you that 10% off is a good deal. 10% off, that won't even keep up with inflation. So be more aggressive. 85 days, 38 minutes. That's 84 days. 84 days until we are partying in Salt Lake City with Mr. Snyder and the crew. Get your plane ticket, get your hotel room, get your Airbnb, find a couch to sleep on, crash in a car. Let's not say it that way. Crash on a couch, sleep in a car if you have to. Bring a sleeping bag, a yoga mat, whatever. Be there. Some of you, it will be the hardest planning, and some of you will be effortless. Okay, and I've been in both, where it took every dollar and a ton of rearranging of the schedule to get there. And then other times it was just effortless. floated, skated through, no resistance whatsoever. So if you are running into resistance, challenges, obstacles about attending and building for this event, remember that the resistance is the thing that's pointing in the direction that you should be going. It's been a while since we talked about this, but I just want to recommend a book, very short book, very quick, easy to read book, called The War of Art. This is not the art of war. This is the war of art. And his name, Stephen Pressfield wrote War of Art. And then what he put in there was that anyone who's making, visual art, literature art, even businesses are a form of art, because we're taking something from our mind and putting it into the physical world for others to experience. It's a form of art. And he says, when that resistance shows up, that resistance only shows up if you're working on something worthy, right? Do you have a bunch of resistance when it comes to eating pizza and watching Netflix? No. But there's plenty of resistance when it's time to go to the gym and do grass-fed beef only, right? That's it. Skip the dessert. So he says things like, you're going to experience resistance with anything that has to do with the six-pack, anything that has to do with making money, anything that has to do with religious discovery. You're going to experience resistance. And the normie brain, the uninformed person, will take that resistance as a sign to stop. But the people who know, the high achievers, the people who manifest their life in a way that they saw it in their mind and it came true, use resistance as a compass, as a guiding light to be like, all right, well, if that's the most resistance, like seriously, I'm doing the same thing, guys. The same thing. There are some people on this list I don't want to call, but it's on my list when I feel that resistance and I look at it. One of these people, so important that I talked to him. I've been ignoring my list for 2 days. I went to Lowe's last night. I got to get an extra door. We're doing a little rehab thing. The dude I'd been resisting to talk to was in the checkout line right in front of me. And and I'm like, oh my goodness, see, this is the thing. I need to be talking to this person. And that little voice, there's a little resistance voice that said, oh, you forgot something at the back of the store. You need to go get it. And I instantly recognized that as resistance. So, if I listen to that voice, I go wander and I don't see him again, then I have his number. Maybe I'll call him. Maybe I have to chase him down, but he's right here in front of me. So I said, that's enough resistance. I'm going for it. And then his name is Bud. So I said, hey, Bud. He didn't turn around. He didn't hear me. So I think, oh, again, the little resistance voice shows up. See, you don't need to talk to him. Don't say anything else. Resistance is the compass, guys. So, hey, Bud, said it again. He finally turned around. Michael, shook my hand, started talking. 2 minutes later, find out one of our neighbors is ready to sell a property that I've been waiting 5 years to buy, and he doesn't want it. So now we're going to start a process for me to explore it. Now, of course, 5 years ago, the price was way different. But the point is, that resistance up front was pointless. There was no reason for my brain to say, no, don't do that. And then what actually came of it was a potential deal, another 6-acre lot right next to me that is honestly the dirtiest property. So if I bought it and just lit a fire to it, everyone's property value would go up. Now, I'm not going to burn anything. I told you guys on this call before, we've had 2 fires on this property, on my properties in the last couple years. So we're extra careful with fires. And I'm building a pond, a fire suppression pond. I want the fish pond first, but there's no firefighter out here. And we are responsible, right? We are responsible. So anyway, using resistance as a compass is a daily battle. Okay. I've read that book maybe 5 or 6 times. Wonderful book. If you haven't read it, it's called The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. So check it out. It'll take you 2 hours, maybe 3. You can get it done before lunch if you want to. And you'll have such an eye-opening experience around why you've been doing what you've been doing the last 30, 60, 90 days, and what you need to do over the next 84 days. Use resistance as a guiding compass. Cool? Cool. All right, well, GM to that. Yep, yep, wonderful book. Excellent. Okay. Well, let's get into it. Wealth Wednesday. Wealth Wednesday brought to you by Team Elevate and Daine Clark. So, for those of you who are new, welcome. Put the Wednesday call, in fact, put Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday's call in your calendar as reminders on repeat. Be here 3 days a week. We're here to guide you, coach you, point you in the right direction, answer your questions, diagnose, negotiate, run scenarios, but ultimately invest time and energy into you. What we prefer is that you take that time and energy and invest it in the next people as an expression of your gratitude. Don't pay it back, pay it forward. That's what we want to see. We want to see the new students being taken care of. There's people who have only been in for a week and a month, and maybe they got some crazy gambling type of risky behavior. Don't berate them, guide them, help them understand that this is the best possible place to learn real estate investing. And I will die on that hill. So let's take care of our new people. Welcome, welcome. Pat, good morning. What did you decide to do with your commercial multi-use property? It is just sitting there. I called a couple commercial builders and an engineer and made some offers. It's kind of funny, I'm pushing out the sale. I don't want to listen with a realtor, but I am thinking about selling it as I'm looking around at, I'm only leveraged at like 40%, right? The value's more than double what I owe on it, 150% more than what I owe on it. So maybe I'll just sell it. I just put some feelers out there, and it's funny how that works too, because the very next day I go to Tractor Supply and someone says, "Hey, cool car." Of course, I was driving the Beamer. He comes over, starts talking to me. Turns out he's the director of one of the Main Street initiatives to get more businesses on Main Street. And I got 2 properties on Main Street. So we started talking. He goes, "I drive past your property every day. I know exactly what you're talking about. So glad to meet you. Come to our next thing." So that'll be in a week. I'll be going to that. It's not quite a Rotary Club, but honestly, what I'm trying to figure out is how to pre-sell the units so that I can lower my risk before we start taking on more debt, because it's going to be a multi-million-dollar build. And if we could pre-sell like, a third or half of the units, that means we need a nice architect so we can make some really nice renderings of what it'll look like and then get it sold. But it's going to be top-notch, going to have all the amenities, going to make everyone jealous. And then one thing that will keep it in the keep it popular, keep it in the news, so to speak, is a monthly member appreciation, or resident appreciation party, meals, games, entertainment, to make people want it more, so that if there's ever a vacancy, it's snatched up right away and there becomes a waiting list. So I talked to a few people about that. So far, on paper, nothing's happened, but a lot of conversations and exploration. So I also talked to Coach Gavin about it, because we guys got coaches. If you're not using your coaching, you're missing out on some resources and opportunities. So I talked to the coach again, and he said it's a perfect 10-year plan. or even 20-year plan, just one property. This one property could be the only one you need to do for the next 20 years. So yeah, it's exciting, but thank you for asking. Not much progress yet, but definitely will inform you as we keep making progress. Speaking of making progress, let's get Daine Clark out here. He is our special guest trainer for the day. We call it Wealth Wednesday, and he's been a part of our organization for over 10 years. And if you don't know his story, it's great, inspiring, one conquering fear. Because in fact, it wasn't even his idea to come to the workshop. He got invited by a warm market person, which is one reason why we always tell you, just invite your friends. Some will say yes, some will say no. Okay. But the ones who say yes, we're in a whole new adventure. And I think it strengthens friendships too. It's been amazing to watch his transformation, because when he first came to the workshops, such a small goal, one property a year for the next 10 years. And he started doing that, started doing fix and flips. And then someone said, Daine, you got a great story. You should go on stage. He was so nervous, shaking in his boots, but he knew he had a good, important message to share with the crowd, and forced himself through that fear, through that resistance, use that resistance as a guiding compass, and said, all right, I will do it. I will face my fear. To where now he's been speaking on stages in front of hundreds of people. In fact, he's been on stage in front of 1,000 people. He's a fantastic trainer. And one reason why I admire his work ethic and the way he's designed his life is he prioritizes his family. He prioritizes the things that matter. He puts money in its place. He puts relationships in their place, health, wellness. And it's a great balance to see. And also, if you ever try to call him, his voicemail greeting is hilarious. Hi, this is Daine. I don't want to talk to you. I'm really busy living my best life ever. No, I'm just kidding. But he lives a life by design. He's developed a system and a type of real estate investing that reduces risk, increases cash flow, makes more sales, helps realtors close their business, helps mortgage brokers close their business. Everybody wins. And that's why people flock to him, to now where he does sometimes, instead of one deal a year, one deal a month, he's doing a deal a week. He's broken this down into past recordings of the steps needed to take. And I just got word that Tamara is working on a deal like that. So we're going to talk about her deals in just a minute once we get some updates and insight from Mr. Daine Clark. So everybody, let's give a big warm welcome to the man of the hour, Mr. Daine Clark. GM. You got to push a different button. In the meantime, hi, this is Daine. I only work 3 days a week and only for 3 hours each day. Your best bet is to just send me an email. Oh, there he is.
Test. There we are. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. GM.
Now I can't hear you.
Oh boy, this will be weird.
I broke something. Oh my gosh.
Well, folks, the good news is you don't need to know how to run Zoom
Microphone
to be a multi-million-dollar real estate investor. You just need to take action.
Yeti Nano speaker. MacBook Pro. Test.
Yes, sir.
Now I can hear you. I just remembered every time I pull this computer off and take it somewhere else, and when I come back, I just have to like reset all the settings. So my apologies, but happy Wealth Wednesday to y'all.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Yes.
So on a side note, folks, Daine and I are also trying to make farming cool again. Okay. I heard something funny. I was telling some people that I'm doing research on farming. Okay, there's some old guys. I'm researching farming. He goes, research. That's like finding out stuff your grandpa already knew. Yep, you are right. So anyway, making farming cool again. Grow your own food. It will completely change your level of responsibility and understanding about planning and long-term, gratification versus short-term gratification. because you don't get to do that in farming or gardening at all. And it's just a whole new set of actions, but with the same principles that will reward your life long term. So, guys, get into gardening, get into farming. You'll get stronger, you'll get healthier, and you'll have a better habit overall. So, anyway,
Yeah, dude.
yeah, what's the latest and greatest in your world? How are your pigs? How are your kids? How's your business?
Good, dude. Did I talk last week that I had a guy say that he thinks we could get 100 pasture pigs? I swear we talked about this.
You just showed us that your building had a baby building.
Oh, that's right. So I had a in fact the guy that sold us the pigs that we're raising right now, like they're show pigs. Like we wanted to do this as the first time go around because supposedly they're easier or whatever. You know, they keep them in a small space. Um, but the whole time I was just like, man, I mean, Michael gave me the idea of pasture pigs because they don't like destroy the earth as much. You know, the rooting and pitting and all that kind of stuff. And it's funny because all of a sudden somebody showed up in my life that was like, hey, I'm thinking about doing pasture pigs because the meat is like red and people will pay a premium. They'll pay like $7 a pound versus like the pigs that we're raising are like $2 a pound. And so he actually came over to my place and was like, dude, you could fit like 100 pasture pigs in this space. He's like, you got to do the fencing, but you could probably fit 100 in here. And I was telling him, I was like, yeah, I gotta get like the grass because the old owner kind of let it go. So we have some grass, we have some weeds, and we have some spots that are just only weeds because they've taken over. And I've started spraying stuff, but he was like, dude, the pigs will do it for you. They will root out all of those weeds and really just like promote the growth of new grass. And he's like, because I told him we have cows coming in this year. We should probably, I'm guessing in August, we'll finally have the fence fixed enough that we'll have cows. So
Nice.
we're getting 80 cows, but next year, dude, I think I'm gonna start getting ready for pigs. He was like, dude, they will do it for you. He's like, yeah, cows will get rid of a lot of stuff, but they won't promote the growth like pigs will of like
Hmm.
basically the regrowth of the good stuff. He's like, anyway, this is what Michael's been telling me for years though. So
It's
old
a
news.
positive disturbance.
It was researching what Michael already been telling me. But
Nice.
yeah, positive disturbance. So super excited. Especially where he was like, dude, because I think Michael, you're the one that told me this. He's the Joel Salatin actually said, only by appreciating farm assets.
Hmm.
And so I was just like, dude, if we just buy, I don't know, 100 pigs, 100 little pigs and put them out there on pasture and sell them at the end of the season, then and I have to feed them through the winter, especially because we know we have snowy winters here and you have to deal with freezing and all kinds of stuff. So um anyway, so I was just like, dude, if we could get pigs, set it and forget it. Like I like to do
Yep.
real estate, set it and forget it. Then oh man, that'd be super cool. But do you know he kept telling me the name and I was like, I should write this down. But the breed of pigs, I think he's
So I got Coney Coonies and I got Hereford pigs.
okay. I wonder if it's the Cooney. Ah, what did he say?
Yeah, I got them.
Is it like Japanese or something like that?
It is Pacific Islander. It's New Zealand, but you know,
Ah, I swear he said it was Japanese. But anyway,
yeah, yeah.
I'll have to
I
ask him.
mean, those two pigs, the grazer pigs, by the time they get to the end of my field, where they left is already regrowing, and they just go back and forth over like a week to two
Heck
weeks,
yeah, dude.
and everything stays lush and green, and I'm amazed. So yeah, I haven't had to feed like take food out to the pigs in months. So
Nice.
yeah, let's go, guys.
Oh yeah. Kubota. Oh, dude. When you're a real estate investor farmer, like you buy whatever you want. So yeah, I got tractors, I got mini excavators, I got trailers to haul my tractors and mini excavators. I got a farm Bronco Raptor,
That's awesome.
because we got to go see certain parts of the property that's got hills and creeks and
Yeah, you need four-wheel drive, baby.
got to have a farm Bronco Raptor that we can jump. Actually, we have a spot that I call it the sand dune because it's kind of sandy right there. And so I actually have been tilling it so that it stays nice and soft because nothing really grows there. It's just so sandy. And so we just keep it nice and clear of all the weeds. And yeah, we can go jump the Bronco Raptor over this big old dune. It's so
Nice.
fun.
Life by design, baby.
But it's also fun because like Michael was saying, like all my neighbors, it's so fun to get into the lives of my neighbors and see what's going on and how what are they doing and Steve, to answer your question, no, I didn't do the Kubota, and here's why. It's run by computers, like tons of computers. Everyone I know that has a new Kubota, a new John Deere, a new, let's see, what else is like one of the big, some of the big names, and Anmar, like these big name brands, they're all computerized. Like my brother has the John Deere, and it's like the little teeny one, like even smaller than my tractor. He's got like the yard John Deere and it's run by computers. And he has called it complaining like, "Oh man, like the something electrical and I don't know what it is and I have to take it to John Deere because it's like proprietary that you have to plug into their computers. You can't just like buy your own like a car. You can buy just like OB, OC, OCB,
O
whatever.
OBD2.
OBD2, you can buy your own like from Amazon for like 30 bucks and like run codes, not with John Deere's or
Yeah.
Kubota's. Like it is. And so I decided, no, I want all mechanical. And I did get a turbocharged because I have to have turbo everything. Turbocharged tractor, but it's mechanical injectors, mechanically actuated, turbocharged, wastegate, all that kind of stuff. And so, and it is brand new. Like I didn't get an old one. Like it's brand new, but that's like what this company prides themselves on, is it is all mechanical, no computers. And so yeah, I didn't do the Kubota. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that's great, man. Um,
Uh,
the and that's the thing about resilience too, and like thinking through just a little bit further. When this breaks, do I have to have a $300 an hour technician come?
yeah,
I don't
electrician
want that.
technician.
Yeah, yeah, we don't want that.
Yeah,
So,
but anyways, what I was saying is like I love being able to like get into like all my neighbors' lives and see what they're doing and you know like where are you going? And it's funny, like kind of talk in like goals language and I just wrapped up actually because one of my neighbors is um I don't want to say he's down on his luck, but like he is pushing for the next opportunity in his business. Like he is laser focused. And they just had a kid, and so they've got a pretty small house. And so he's like, dude, I'm gonna add on. He's like, I'm doing it myself. You're gonna save all this money. And so I just got done like hauling my tractor over, hauling my excavator over. Like I think I'm gonna. It's funny, we were joking. I think I'm gonna call myself not quite a excavation company,
not quite
but
a
but not like spelled like that, like NAHQITA or something like that. Like not quite a excavation company.
very, very rural sounding.
Yes. But yeah, like it just was so fun helping him like put this whole thing together, build out his foundation. Like I dug his foundation, we just poured concrete, and so I did all the spreading of the gravel and just I mean, I probably saved him thousands of dollars by just bringing over all this equipment and helping him out and you know, just like building relationships in the neighborhood, my friends and neighbors. And I'm sure this guy will be grateful like for the rest of his life to just
Yeah.
have somebody that showed up and said, "Let's do this." So all the computer farm equipment could cripple. Yeah, technically, technically, like it stuff could happen, and all this
Plant some
computers.
trees, folks. Plant some trees. Even if you don't want a garden, go plant some trees, some apple trees, some peach trees. Every climate, all the way up to the Arctic, down to the Antarctic, can hold trees. So find the ones that are in your zone and plant way more than you think you need.
Yeah,
And your
love it.
future self will thank your today self. So we started out this call with the book recommendation on The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. and he talks about how resistance is like a guiding compass. The more you feel resistance towards something, the more important it is that you do it.
Ooh, yes.
And so I wonder what your take is on that. And then I know Tamara was put in the chat that she's got some deals happening and wants to run some numbers with you to make sure she's doing it right. So anyway, tell us about resistance and then we'll switch over.
Yeah. And I think it goes two ways with what you resist because um, if you have how do I want to word this? If you have things in your life that are negative, like if you have, I don't know, let's say you decide that because of your situation, because of your job situation, because of your money situation, because of your time situation, because of your knowledge, like if you have these negative affirmations in your life, there's also some truth to say that the more you think about those things or the more you try to resist because of those things, you give those things power. And so resisting, basically overcoming instead of standing up and facing fears and stuff like that in the face, like you give it more, yeah, you give it more power. Like I'll use myself as the example. Like Michael said, I was so shy, so shy. And I was telling my wife the other day, we have this conversation every now and again that I feel like it was programmed into me from my friends, neighbors, and even my own family. Like my mom was the one that coined the phrase. I didn't learn this phrase anywhere else other than from my own mother. And bless her heart, I don't hold this against her, but she was the one that coined the phrase painfully shy. Like I was introduced as this is my painfully shy son. My older brother was the one that had the gift of gab, and that's what she called him, and I was the painfully shy son. And so I resisted facing that, head on for so many years of my, it wasn't until Renatus basically that I finally decided like, no, like I'm going to step up and I am going to overcome this because the more I resisted, I gave it life. The more I would resist, like basically holding on to my past, the more I resisted overcoming that, like, oh, and that was even true in the beginning of my Renatus career. Like it took a while. It took a while to stand up and say, no, this sucks. Like why do I think like this? And I can't remember how many books, but several books, several seminars, several, whatever, and hearing other people talk where I was just like, in fact, I think it was one of Michael's presentations that that translated. I translated into licking things and claiming them as your own. I can't remember the exact way that Michael said, but I remember there was one time I was listening to Michael and he said, if you see a behavior in another person, if you notice it, like all of a sudden you're just like, huh, notice of a behavior. I just did a noticing of a behavior. That means that you can have that behavior. Just the fact that you noticed it in other people and it came to the forethought of your conscious mind, that means you can have it. And so I kind of recoined that, or I shouldn't say recoined, but I kind of like translated that into, okay, it's like licking things and claiming them as your own. If I see somebody have a behavior of confidence, if I, and I specifically noticed how they do it and why they, in a presentation or in just how they carry themselves, if it comes to the forefront of my mind, I can have it. And all of a sudden,
Isn't that
like
great news, everybody? That's
life
great news.
changed. Whereas like instead of resisting oh, I'm painfully shy and giving that so much power, I would see somebody that would carry themselves without like meet somebody like I would watch these, Renatus events are like amazing. I would go to these events and I would watch other people interact and I would watch person A get introduced to person B for the first time. And several times that was probably Michael, but also all the other leaders. And I would watch person A get introduced to person B for the first time. And, let's say Michael was person A, and just watch Michael have so much confidence when they got introduced to this person and have, life breathed into person B, if you will, that uh, that all of a sudden they were like instant friends and instant rapport because they were just like person B was just like, man, like Michael knows what he's talking about. This dude is confident. This dude like is lively, is fun to talk to. And so all of a sudden I would notice these things and in the back of my mind, or I should say, shouldn't say the back, in the front of my mind, in the literal forefront of my mind was just like, oh my gosh, I just noticed that. And I would watch, those interaction with, and insert any name, person A, person B, and have that confidence. And all of a sudden I was like, well, the laws say, the laws of life say that I can have that too, because I just noticed it. And so all of a sudden just like started reprogramming my brain that's just like, no, if I notice it, I can have it. Lick it and claim it as your own. And I grew up with a bunch of brothers and sisters, so if you licked it, they didn't want it anymore. And so definitely applied. My wife does not get that. It's funny, she grew up as a single child because her closest sibling is like 15 or 17 years older than her, so she doesn't get
Wow.
it. She watches all of our kids that are we're running a daycare basically. We have 5 kids, 4 of them in car seats. She watches these guys interact or these kids interact and just like, I don't get it. Why do they do this? Why do they? And it's like, honey, it's normal. These are children. Anyway, but yeah. So anyway, sorry. The first thing that came to my mind, Michael, when you said resisting, it like that's what stop resisting, holding on to past self, because most of the time it's how you think that ends up hindering building wealth, that ends up hindering uh, advancing your life into that next level. Basically, just accepting reality. I shouldn't say accepting, but deciding that that is reality. Because accepting reality again accepting reality again gives it power. But when you even changing that mindset of deciding reality, oh, if you decide that your reality is that you're painfully shy, just remember, you decided that. We literally decide everything unconsciously in our lives. And so, um, anyway, what were you talking about the resisting though? Because you kind of had a different angle
How
on
to
it.
use it as a compass. So like when uh
Oh,
like I was before you hopped on, I was talking about I have this list of top people I need to be calling. Of course, the child added his own custom scribbles. But one of the guys who I've done a deal with before in the past, but he's not easy to work with. So I was feeling the resistance, but I know I need to call him. And I
mm.
ignored it for 2 days on my list. But last night when I went to Lowe's, he was right in front of me at the checkout stand. So I ended up talking to him and things started going in the right direction. So, you can't ignore this resistance thing for too long, guys. It will just lead
Oh,
to pain and frustration and doubt and fear.
yeah. Like there's, oh, this is so brilliant. Like you might have already said this, and so sorry if this is a repeat, kind of like a research, discovering what's already there, already been searched or already been discovered, but uh, it becomes like a task list. Like, okay, what am I resisting most? Okay, we should do that.
Yep.
Like, do that first. In fact, I read a book. Um, read it for sure, but I'll give you the synopsis. It's called Eat That Frog. I probably got that from Michael to read that one, but Eat That Frog. And he basically just says like, hey, if you have so many things to do in a day, if one of those things that you have to do is eat a frog, he's like that's probably one of the worst things that you'll have to do that day. And so do the worst thing that you have to do in a day, and all the other things become easy. And he
That's
was so
right.
right.
A live frog.
Yes. Yeah. A live frog. While it's still wriggling, try and bite off that leg and eat the head whole.
And then compare
Um,
that to having to call a few customers.
yes. And so yeah, it becomes like your task list. Like, okay, what am I resisting most? And let's just do that first. And it's so interesting when you get that thing out of the way, like everything else is easy. Everything else feels like jump change. Like, we already did the hard, and it's crazy what it does to your psyche too, because you do the hard thing first, and all of a sudden you're just like, man, I'm on fire, and everything else just becomes a piece of cake. And so, and usually it's interesting how this, let's call it the success laws. It's interesting how the laws of success work, where when you do the hard thing, all of a sudden, like everything else becomes easier. I'm trying to remember where I was going with this train of thought. Um, most of the time, the hard thing that you do, because again, all wealth is built through conversation. Most of the time, the hard thing is that conversation that makes you nervous. Because two quick phrases, all wealth is built through conversation. I can look at every single dollar made, dollar generated, deal done, and they can all be traced back to a conversation. It's people who own houses. It's people who want real estate investing education. It's people who have money that they want to be passive and sit back and twiddle their thumbs and have deals presented to them. It's humans. And so all wealth is built through conversation, but also, second, let's call these, I don't know, Dane one-liners. Um, the achievement of almost any goal, like I would dare venture to say a vast majority of any goal that anybody has will be achieved by meeting somebody that you didn't know before and getting connected with that person. And oftentimes bringing up conversations with people that you do know. But uh, but yeah, the achievement of any goal is directly related. In fact, here's like the bumper sticker. The achievement of any goal is directly related to the people that you meet, the people that you talk to about that goal. And so like Michael's situation, he had a goal. Probably the goal is probably not necessarily to talk to this person. The goal is to do something. But Michael has already identified that there's a person that he needs to go with, to walk beside, whatever, to achieve said goal. And so he's already identified that there's the human that needs to be involved with my goal getting. And that was the frog. And it's interesting because the more resistance you have, the more important it usually is. Like, use that as the sign. Like, that is your cue. That is your communication device to be like, resistance. I'm feeling resistance. Like, this must be important. I mean, even down to like, I remember when I first got started in Renatus that I would resist. I would resist going to the meetings. I would resist going to Super Saturday. I would resist going to um, uh, what do they call them? Where we'd have an
Intensives,
instructor for half a day. Um,
intensive.
yeah, intensives. Like, I would resist going to meetings most, probably because it was uncomfortable for me. Or I would talk myself into like, like there's probably nobody new that I would meet or whatever. I would have the thoughts. And it's funny because the times that I would feel that resistance the most, this is honestly why I decided that this is like the universe's way of communicating with you. that when I resisted the most, but I decided, all right, I'm going, was when I had the biggest breakthroughs because I would meet the person, usually, like literally the person that I needed to meet to that was going to go with me to my next goal. It was the person that connected me to maybe the person that I needed or the person that was the connector. And so use that as like a as like your beacon, if you will, in life. The thing that you are resisting most, give it the most attention. You know, the thing that you're resisting that that you know is like a good thing. Not the like I'm shy kind of stuff. Use that as like the direction. If you're resisting it the most, it's probably the thing you need to do. Like running numbers. Yes.
Running numbers, eating a frog, calling your neighbor. Yeah, all of
Yes.
it.
So cool. All right. Tomorrow. Sounds like you got stuff for us.
GM, tell us, how are you? How's New York? And yeah, what deal are you working on?
So, I initially started off having one deal that I needed to run numbers on, but now I have an updated deal that's more important to run numbers on. So,
Oh boy.
and more time sensitive. So I've been doing all the things like the Daine Clark things, and it's all coming, it's all happening, but this is real time. So yesterday I spoke to a potential tenant. He's going to start looking for a deal, which is exciting. But this is a small mobile home park that I've been chipping away at, and I have like so there. I initially thought they were asking a little too much, and they are, but it's not gonna kill me. But anyway, I'll still make money. But I want to offer them seller financing.
Mhm.
And I want to offer them a regular like I'm going to offer them cash, and I know that number. The number I don't know is the seller financing. So I'm wondering if we
Mhm.
could hash out the seller financing.
Okay, yeah. Oh, I left my iPad in my house. Um, but yeah, go ahead. Start giving me story.
Do
Sure.
you, yeah, Tamara, do you have like a spreadsheet or a whiteboard or something you can share or
And if we need,
anything?
I can pull up like
You can just
my
pull up the Zoom
my deal
whiteboard
software or something.
or
Me?
the deal software. Yeah, whatever's clever.
Um yeah, I should start doing this. Hold on. Um you can see that, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. Cool. All right. So um there are it has 10 pads.
Mhm.
Um 8 are occupied.
Yeah. Here, let's do this. Are you cool if I share my screen real fast?
Yeah, of course.
All right. Let's see, am I allowed to do that? We'll close whiteboard. Do you want to continue? Yes. All right. All right. So let's do this. Um, we don't need to necessarily put any addresses in or whatever. So, all right. So I'm guessing that you already have numbers based on if you buy it cash and how that's gonna look, right?
Correct.
So all we have to do, whoops, is change this, and we're just gonna say enter manually. So do you already have you gone as far as a purchase price with them?
A cat with the sellers.
Yes,
No, not yet, because I wanted to give them two. I'm going to present them with two options.
I see. So what is your cash price?
My cash offer right now is 325. They want 450.
Oh, okay. So you're gonna lowball them.
What?
All right. Let's work backwards. Let's work backwards. All right. So how much do you think it will bring in revenue total gross?
Hang on, I'm gonna grab my notes real fast. Right now, as is, it would bring in it would bring in I think 5,600 is 5,900 a month.
Oops. 59.
So that's about
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so 5,900 a month. We're not going to play with any of those yet. So 5,900 a month. And now, and that's as is. However, what do you feel like it could do? And I'm guessing there's a reason you said that as is, because there's potential.
Yeah. So there's stuff I can do, like some of the rents need to be raised. I actually ran through this with Bill Ome, but so he did a lot of his like things. But yeah, so I could rent some of the land to people. There's 2 vacancies that excuse me need to be filled.
Mm-hmm. And is that included in the 59?
No. The 5,900 is what it's producing right now. So that
Oh,
includes
already. So
yeah.
okay, yeah. So let's go off of potential, because you're not buying this to just like set it and forget it. Like you're buying this to add value, correct?
Correct.
That's the intention. So what's your potential? And like for sure potential.
That I don't know yet.
Okay, so that's where I would start, is because you want to be able to work backwards to say, okay, here's how much this deal can produce. Like this is what's possible. And based on what's possible, you can decide how much you can spend, how much you can share, right? So in other words, like I look at it when I'm looking at residual type deals, monthly cash flow type deals. This is anything from rentals to my seller finance deals to stuff like this. I mean, I don't personally buy stuff like this, but it's the same. You need to think of it like a pie and say, okay, the whole pie is, like you were saying, right now it's $5,600 a month. And let's just pretend that this is the full potential that you can, that not that you could like maybe do, because there's like wishy-washy wishing, as I would call it. And then there's like, here is what the data shows that we can do, right? And there's a difference, right? I see this too often, but I've seen where people will be like, oh, well, maybe we could do this and it would bring this. Like, no. If you have data that says, here is what we can do for sure. And if that means that, okay, yeah, your potential is 9,000, but realistically, your potential is really 8,000. Like, okay, like the data shows that we could get 8,000 for sure, hands down, no questions asked. We can get like go with the 8,000 number and base everything off of that more conservative. And so just for purposes of today, we're going to pretend that it's 5,600. Like that's your full,
5,900, sorry.
because you can, or sorry, was that? Oh, sorry. Did you say 59?
900. Yeah, sorry.
59. Okay. So this is the whole pie. 5,900, right, is the pie. That's the monthly pie. And so we'll work backwards from there and say, okay, what kind of expenses do we have? Let's pretend, let's see, and we can get rid of some of these things because they're not going to apply. Actually, yeah, you might, with seller financing, you might still have a loan service. Operating expenses, have you run through any of this kind of stuff?
I just did like 30% of the gross.
Okay. I would recommend line iteming it as best you can. Get bank statements from them, get taxes from them. Taxes can be, if you've ever heard, I can't remember who teaches this. If it was in the Renatus tax classes or somewhere I heard this. that there's two books for every company. There's like bank account books that are directly related to the bank account, and then the taxes. And they don't always have to match. And it's true. You know, I filed taxes as a business for a decade now, over a decade. And your tax books don't have to match your bank account books. And what I mean by that is like that, not that there's any kind of like dishonesty, but sometimes the books on the taxes, like you can say, oh, well, this was an owner decided write-off, meaning like I thought we need like my tractor. Like I didn't need that big of a tractor. I didn't need that. I didn't need a turbo tractor. But you know what? I wanted it, and so I paid for it. And you better believe I wrote it off. Right? And so that affected my tax books, and that was owner driven. Like if I was trying to go the most frugal that would do the job, then yeah, I would have spent less. Anyway, so that's what I mean by that. Um, and so tax books can only get you so far. Uh, so get both. Ask them for, yes, I want the tax returns, but I also want the bank statements. I want to see monthly, because this is technically like commercial property. And so
Right.
you're not just buying a piece of real estate. You are also buying the business. And so you need to look at both. The bank account storyline, if you will, or that's what I always call it, is like bank accounts tell stories, and then the tax books. And so find out how much they're spending. So let's say, so let's just use your number just for easy share or easy numbers. And let's just say expenses.
I was gonna die. Like I was gonna wait till I got it under contract and then really dive into things. But
Cool.
yeah.
So we're going to get rid of those and say 30% of rent is expenses. Okay. So purchase and rehab. Let's see. Let's start playing. In fact, here, let's do this first. Let's say no loan, no financing, all cash, purchase price. After repair value doesn't matter because, yeah, we're just going off of purchase price. So if you're bringing in, let's go back to this. Is this going to let me do yearly or just monthly? Yeah, it's just, okay, so let's convert it to yearly. So 5,900 minus, sorry, you can't see my calculator when I do it like this. 5,900 minus 1,800 is 4,100 times 12, and I need to put parentheses here for the 59 minus 1,800. All right, so 49,200 per year. So let's basically say 50,000 a year. And so really what you need to decide is like, okay, what is my bottom line? If the pie that you're allowed to eat, basically, because you're going to have to give away 30% of that 5,900 per month. And so you now get to divvy up 4,200 per month. What is your bottom line that you'll, like for myself, I typically say, obviously mine is a leveraged, right? What we're looking at here is non-leveraged, all cash. But I typically say I will not get out of bed if I'm not making 30% cash on cash return on a leveraged return. Going all cash is more secure, and so typically going for a lesser ROI. Now, obviously, that's in my niche, if you will. I have no idea what a good niche ROI is on a property like this, but let's just play that game. So if here, I think how can I show you guys my calculator? Because I want people to see this. Let's do this.
So that 50,000 was after you did the 30%. You took the 30% out,
Correct.
right? Okay.
Yep. So let's do this. So revenue, revenue. revenue. We said 5,900 a month. Expenses are 30%, so that's equals that times 0.3. And let's see. So let's call this, this wouldn't necessarily quite be, NOI, net operating income is going to be equals that minus that. So our net operating income is 4130 per month. And so this is basically like the pie. This is how much pie is left over. And so we just need to decide, and let's do this monthly, yearly. So if I do, oops, equals that times 12. Man, these things are getting smart. How do I say yes? All right. So there's our yearly, 50,000 a year, give or take. And so we just need to decide and say, okay, here is our cash out of pocket max. So our cash out of pocket max, and then we need to decide our minimum ROI. Okay, so give me a number tomorrow. Like, you don't get out of bed unless your ROI is X percent.
15%.
15%. Okay, and so let's do a yearly of 15%. So 15%. So what we're going to do is work backwards and say, okay, what dollar amount is 49 or $50,000 a 15% return of? So I'm going to do equals 49, and I think, let's see, am I doing this right? So 49,000 divided by
12.
15%.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see if that's the number. Yeah.
Don't put in my numbers.
Okay. So just make sure everybody sees what I did there on the math. So basically, $49,000 is 15% of 330,000.
So that's the most I could offer out of pocket.
So that's including any improvements that you do to the property. So this includes purchase price, closing, improvements. Like if you're going to spend money to improve, and so now we have the next number. Say, okay, cash out of pocket, here's our improvement costs. Improvements are, I don't know, give me a number. Because I think you said that you're going to have to clean up some land to make that rentable or whatever.
Yeah. Well, the way I was, yeah, I don't, for the improvements, let's just say 20,000.
Okay, so $20,000 in improvements. Let's say closing is like 1%. And so let's just say $4,000. So closing improvements. And so purchase needs to be equals this minus this minus this. 306. So if you're buying it cash, there's your offer. Again, if assuming all these numbers are accurate. And so you can play with, I shouldn't say play with this number. You can research, and it's so funny. I can't unsee that. And now, Michael, thanks a lot. Just kidding. So you can do research and say, okay, here's how much we can for sure, without a shadow of a doubt, the data says we can make this much money. And so let's even say that that's $8,000, and this should adjust accordingly. Yes. Okay, so now we changed that revenue to 8,000. So you could buy this if your ROI is 15%, then you could purchase this for 424. But let's say that, well, if you're going to do $8,000 a month, then you got to spend 40 grand. So really down to 404, right? You see where I'm going with this?
Yeah, that's for the seller finance offer.
Not yet. This is cash. So all
Oh,
cash, not assuming splitting up the pie at all, by doing seller financing. Now let's change this now to say, okay, what if Tamara is instead of, oh, well, I'm sorry, let's talk about this first. So let's say you do all cash. And so let's back up some of these. Let's just leave it at this for now. So let's say that she's got all cash doing this, and it's her money that she's using. So Tamara has $306,000, or sorry, $330,000 of her own money, and here's her criteria. Or let's say Tamara's like, I don't have $330,000 to buy this, pay for closing, and pay for improvements to get this property running. Technically, if this was me, I would say you would want to have this in the bank too, the yearly expenses at least. And so really you need like $350,000 total, and $20,000 goes into a slush fund. Basically like collects dust. You have $20,000 that sits in a checking account, collects dust for oopses, uh-ohs, and oh craps. If stuff happens. And so you need to have money. And so I would argue 350, but we're not going to put that in here because again, we're just trying to go bare bones, like just to prove the point here. So Tamara's like, okay, I don't have $330,000. So she knows like, okay, the pie is producing a 15% annualized return. And so what could I give away to someone else in exchange for taking some of the pie? And so if she gives some of that pie away to others and keeps the rest of it, let's say that she does, let's see here, let's do this. Let's say partner over here, that she still wants to go all cash, and the partner is going to bring, I don't know, give me a number that you're like, okay, partner, if you bring this and I bring this, all the way up to 100%.
200,000.
Yeah, so Tamara says, all right, partner, you bring $200,000 cash out of pocket. 200,000. So partner brings 200,000. Now partner also has their minimum, right? Tamara, if you were to guess, is there anybody that you could talk to that would say, I'm not getting out of bed unless it's X% return on my 200,000? What would they say?
I could get it for 8%.
8%. Okay. So we just basically just do that same math. And so let's see. That means that their NOI is equals 200,000 times 8%. And so of the NOI, they're going to take 16,000. And so Tamara, whoops, is going to take, so let's do equals that minus that. And no, we don't care about that. So, so let's say that Tamara brings, let's see. Let's do equals that minus that. So partner brings 200,000, Tamara brings 130,000. The pie of the NOI, so let's start color coding this just to help me as well see this a little easier. Let's do green. So there's our income. There's the pie. There's what we have. That's like what we have to share after expenses. Okay, so she decides to share $16,000 a year of the income to the person who brings 200,000. She brings 130,000, and earns 33,000. So her ROI equals, we're going to say, get out of the way, that divided by that. And yes, and turn that into a percentage. So, so now if Tamara bought this all cash and she had $330,000, she'd make a 15% return. But if she decides to share 8% of that, or sorry, I shouldn't say 8% of that, basically share $16,000 of the pie in exchange for somebody bringing $200,000. So they're making 8%. Now all of a sudden, Tamara's only bringing 130, and she's taking the rest of the pie and she's making 25%. Tell me you're getting it, or am I confusing everybody? And comments from anybody, not just Tamara, anybody.
Yeah.
Am I making sense, Tamara?
Yeah, I think so. I'll have to watch it
Here,
again.
let's say this is Daine. So
You're making up the difference is you're only paying them 8% and you were taking 15 before for the total. So now you're gaining the extra 7% essentially. Actually, it goes up to increase it to the 25, correct?
correct. Yes. Because
So if you
8%,
leverage a partner who has less percent than what you would normally create, you end up getting that additional to what you would have gotten.
correct. Because they're only getting 8% of 200,000, which means Tamara is getting 8% of or sorry, not 8%. 15 minus 8. I'm not a head math person. Is that 7?
7.
Yeah. So Tamara is getting 7% of the 200,000 and 15% of the 130. Kind of.
Oh, got it. Okay.
So that's why she's getting 25. 15 plus 8. No? No,
Still
okay.
seems a little wonky, but I do see the idea of
Yeah.
getting a higher percent by having a partner that claims a lower percent.
Yeah, because now her cash out of pocket's lower. So now, in my opinion, seller financing is just doing this. So let's say you offer the seller and say, hey, you be my partner, right? So let's pretend that I was going to be the one that's like, hey, Tamara, here's $200,000, 8% interest. Now, in real life, I wouldn't do that, but let's just say that it was. And so Tamara's like, hey, Daine, do you want to get into real estate? Yes, I do. Tamara's like, cool. What kind of return would turn your head? I'm like, 8%. Yeah, 8%, put it in real estate. Like, okay, cool. You want to sit back and twiddle your thumbs and I will present deals to you and you can make 8%? And I'm like, yeah. And so she's like, here you go. Here's a deal that I got a deal I'm working on that is a trailer park. And if you bring 200,000, we have no other risk. Like you are arguably first position or we own this free and clear. So there's no risk in debt, because we're not debt loading. And so you can make an 8% on your 200,000 unleveraged, right? That's a more valuable value is subjective. That's it mitigates risk. And so Daine, do you want to put $200,000 in this deal and make 8%? And I'm like, yeah. And so we do that. And then this is basically how it looks. Now, what if Tamara just goes to the seller and partners with the seller and says, hey, seller, I'll buy it for these numbers and I'll pay you 8%, which is more than the banks are charging. Like, so you're making more than the banks are. Why did you buy this? Oh, for cash flow? Really? Well, how about you keep on getting cash flow and you sit back and twiddle your thumbs and I'll do the work. And you don't have to share in the downside with me because you're set in stone that you earn you're the bank now. And so the seller partners as the bank basically. And the seller makes 8% on $200,000 of equity because they don't bring the 200,000. They basically finance 200,000 of their equity. Tomorrow brings 130. And so here's how the numbers pan out. Um, and so in my opinion, seller financing is basically like partnering with the seller. It's like raising money from the seller instead of going and finding a third party partner. It's brilliant. So I hope that makes sense. Questions, comments, concerns? And hopefully I haven't confused anybody.
Processing.
Yeah. So if I like, so in terms of seller finance, I could see if they want, excuse me. Well, hold on a second. Hold on a second.
So you can go to the seller and say, hey, I'll bring 130,000. I'll buy it for 306. I'm going to put money into it. I'm going to put my money into your property. You could say phrases like that. Like I'll put money into your property and make this beautiful. If I can buy it for 306 and I will give you 200,000, or sorry, if you will carry 200,000, why did you want to buy this in the first place? Oh, cash flow. How's that going? Like, oh, you're getting tired of it. Like that's why you're selling. Well, let's keep you cash flowing and reduce your risk or dang near mitigate your risk. Let's get rid of your risk and allow you to keep on cash flowing from this. And I'll bring $130,000 of skin in the game to, in good faith that I'm serious, that if I don't honor my promises, then you keep that $130,000. Or I should say 130 because she's going to spend the 24. So basically, well, yeah, I mean, she could still argue that in the conversation that she has. So I'll bring $130,000 of my money to put into your property to improve the value, whatever, get things, do the things that you didn't want to do. I'll take on the headache, basically, right? All these phrases are like gold, by the way. Like all these phrases I'm dropping, things like that, like, oh, getting cash flow after you sell it, like that's why you bought this in the first place. Let's keep that going and just remove your risk, remove your input. Putting my money into your property, like it people love to hear this kind of stuff. And so if the seller's like, yeah, like I'll take 8% cash, return on the $200,000 of equity that I was gonna get, because then you could go to a mortgage calculator, and my favorite is Carl's mortgage calculator, and I don't know the website because it has nothing to do with Carl. It's like drcalculator.com. So Carl's mortgage calculator, and you can come in here and show them and say, okay, $200,000 loan, or sorry, what did we say? 306 minus, it was like 105-ish. Yeah, we're just gonna roll with that. Fine, we'll make it accurate. So $200,000 loan at 8% interest, for 30 years, $1,700 a month, amortized. Yeah, we're not going to get into amortization yet. So let's go like this. So you can show this seller, it'd be like, hey, $1,700 a month. Let's see, where's like the final summary? Yeah, we're already on it. So if we went for the 30 years, it's as if I bought this property from you for 528. So arguably you're gonna be like, hey, technically I'll buy this from you for 528,000. Just over 30 years. If you're willing to cash flow this over time, I effectively will buy this for $528,000. And so I'll give you more because you're asking what I think tomorrow said they were asking like 400s,
450.
450. So it's like, hey, I'll give you 528 if you'll do it this way. And so now all of a sudden they're like, oh, 528. Like, yeah, if you'll do it this way, if you will let me help you continue to get cash flow, basically the same reason I'm sure you bought this, cash flow. If you will let me share with you the cash flow over time, I will buy this for $528,000. I will put $130,000 of my money into the property now. And so you'll receive most of that up front, and I will pay you $1,789 a month starting now until as long as we need, as long as you want. How long do you want to receive $1,700 a month? Oh, forever? Well, maybe we'll do interest only and not amortize it. Anyway, I said we're not going to go there. Sorry. So yeah, $1,700 a month. Let's see, what did our spreadsheet say? Which one was I on? What's 16 divided by 12? 16,000 divided by 12. Okay, yeah. So that's why that is showing that, because we were doing 8% interest only is the 16,000 per year, or if it's amortized, Carl's mortgage calculator. So 1789 times 12 is 21,000. So there's a difference of, let's call it $5,000 difference. However, that's principal. And so Tamara can technically calculate that into, like basically the ROI doesn't change. These numbers don't change, even though technically she's paying now $21,000 a year at the 8% if it's amortized, because she's getting that equity. It's still, you can still calculate in the return. Sorry, that was like 201. A little more advanced, but just go with me on this one. But yeah, so basically she can go to the seller and say, hey, oh, you're asking 450. I'll give you 528 if you're willing to work with me on this. I'll put $130,000 of my money into the property. You will get most of that, because I'm going to put like $20,000 into improvements, and I'll pay all the title and closing and all that kind of stuff. And so you'll basically get $100 and some odd $1,000 in your pocket now, which technically, I guess you could say, you're buying the house for $600, because you're going to give them the 100,000 up front, 105. So you could say, hey, technically I'll buy this for 633,000. I'll give you 105,000 of that now, and the other 528 will be at $1,700 a month for as long as you want. Maybe a silly question, but what down the road tomorrow? What if tomorrow wants to sell the house sooner than 30 years? Then basically they don't get that 528. They just get all the interest that they did earn up to that point. If that makes sense. Same as a traditional mortgage. Your mortgage, anytime you buy a house or have a mortgage, then here's what they share with you, right? The banks do the same thing. It's called a truth in lending statement. If you buy this over 30 years, then you're going to pay $528,000. But if you pay it off in 10, then yeah, you don't pay all of that. And so same idea. But it's still, yeah, so let's even say that tomorrow's like, hey, we'll do a balloon payment and I will pay you off in 10 years. Then yeah, technically if they only went 10 years, let's see. We don't, just to save time, we won't go super deep into that. But basically they wouldn't get all the 528. They would get the first 10 years, which, technically here's the amortization chart for the first 10 years. Let's see, so 23 to 33. Like the red, if you can see my cursor here, the red is the interest and this is the principal. So still, like they're still earning a lot of interest for that first 10 years. Still a better deal than if they just sold it cash for 450. And so, but yeah, great point. Make sense tomorrow?
Yeah.
There's mud. Take a screenshot of this. But yeah, so notice that any revenue type deal, this is how I look at it. The pie first, and then work backwards. Here's the max revenue that this property will produce based on the data, not a wishy-washy wishing. Data says 5,900, or change it to whatever it is that your research shows you. Start with that pie and then whittle the pie down to say, okay, here's how much I have to share with utilities and contractors, whatever, right? All your expenses, right? Technically, that's sharing, in my opinion. You're sharing with contractors. Okay, then you have what's left over after those base expenses. And then you can start saying, okay, now let's whittle the pie down even more. And let's give the pie to people that are bringing value. Because you could say that these people are bringing value in maintenance, right? These people are bringing value in management or whatever. And so they get that value. But then you can say, okay, now the value that I need is other people's money. And what kind of value am I willing to give in exchange? And so if somebody brings 200,000, I'll give them 16,000 in exchange of, and so they get 16,000 of the pie, of the income, if you will, and Tamara gets the rest. And so here, let's convert this to monthly. Equals, oops, equals that divided by 12. So she's basically almost 3,000 a month, $2,800 per month for giving away all that value that she gave away, and then the value that she brought cash wise, and the value that she brings management wise, manpower. Like she's the CEO. So that's the value she's getting for both her money and excuse me, and the brain power that she puts into this, the man hours or the woman hours that she puts into this. $3,000 a month. But wait, just really quick, and then we'll wrap it up. Let's say that she brings in, or let's slide this in here. Whoa, I don't know what I just did. There we go. Insert. Oh, actually, I'm going to ruin stuff up here. Nope, no, we're not. Insert left. Let's say she brings in a second partner, right? Because technically, actually, you know what? We're going to leave that like that. Technically, there's still 25% return on the pie, if you will. So what's left over of the pie is now $33,000 a year. And the money she's bringing is 130. And so what if Tamara wants to slide over here and say second partner and says, hey, second partner, what if you bring $130,000? And Tamara actually said that she could get people to do 8%. Yeah, but this is slightly more risk because technically this person gets paid first if they do seller financing. And so let's give them a little more. So we'll say, okay, what if we're going to do copy and paste. So she says, okay, second partner, you bring $130,000. I'll give you 10% return on your money because same questions. Oh, what kind of return would turn your head? Oh, 10%. Okay, great. What if I presented deals to you while you're twiddling your thumbs and waiting for me to do so that produce a 10% rate of return? And so you bring $130,000, 10% return. So you're $13,000 a year. Now let's find out how much is left. So equals of the pie minus the seller financing minus that second partner. And so Tamara still brings $20,000 per year, or let's convert that to monthly, equals divided by 12. So Tamara still brings $1,700 per month, and she brings $0 to the deal, right? I know some people are going to need, some people wanted this, and so here you go. Like, oh, well, what if I don't have $130,000? I guess I can't do this deal. No, just we need another partner, right? Just split up more of the pie to say, okay, you take this much of the pie for this exchange. The seller takes this much of the pie for this exchange. All the contractors take this much of the pie, contractors and utilities, like they're adding value, right? So utilities take some of the pie, management, whatever. And so Tamara is left over with $20,000 of the pie. And all she is the CEO. She didn't bring any money to the deal. So she's $1,700 a month and her return is infinite. I hope this makes sense. So, all right, we better wrap it up though.
Yeah, I should do that.
I mean, it's neither here nor there. It's just what do you here's how much the pie is willing or is able to give away based on if obviously the seller has to say yes to this and this partner has to say yes to this and whatever. But as long as all those conversations go in this direction, then it's not right or wrong. Like, yeah, it's sexy to say I used all of other people's money, but at the same time, if you have money, like put it to work. Like don't just take your money and go buy stuff. Like put your money into stuff. Like if you got the $130,000 and you're okay with, let's see, what was it before, 25% return? If you got $130,000 and you're like, yeah, 25% return meets my criteria, then put it there because that $130,000 is going to be worth a heck of a lot more in this property than sitting in the savings account or going and buying a boat that just depreciates every year. And so, or like a farm Bronco Raptor, those suckers depreciate, right? So you better really want one and have stuff like this that pays for it. Anyway,
So, I have one quick question,
Go ahead.
to flip topics for a second. So my potential, tenant, I got a down payment out of him and the most he can do is 15,000, which I anticipate for this area, I had to be a little bit more flexible. And I was just curious what your thoughts are on that. It would probably be like a $250,000 house. So,
you said $15,000
yes.
and the purchase price is $250.
Yeah.
And so equals that divided by that. So that's a 6% down payment.
Right.
I mean, it is what it is. If that's what people are willing to pay, or those are the, if that's, how do I say this? Everything in real estate is negotiable.
Yeah.
And so if this is what you can duplicate, like that's what I'm looking for. If you can duplicate this easy, then and you can still fit where like over here where I was saying like, okay, what's your criteria? What kind of a return would get you out of bed basically? Because if it's lower than that, like, I'm staying in bed. I'm not even gonna look at that deal, right? If it meets your criteria or if there's some way that you can make it meet your criteria and you can duplicate that, then yeah, you got a business model, right? Like that's basically why I landed on where I landed was, yeah, I could find more people like this in my area that had 6% down, but I couldn't quite get it to meet my bottom line of the return that I wanted. And so I had to up the standards. I shouldn't say standards because that denotes like that one is better than the other. And it's not. Because let's say Tamara can make this work where she's like, yeah, I would do 100 of these in this, because she can find them, could probably find them faster than I find mine. If she's like, hey, I can make these work, then she's got a business model, right? But on my end, where I said, okay, I need it to be this, I don't have as many buyers. If I'm doing 20% down, which that's my minimum, I don't get near as many buyers. So I'll do like a deal every other month versus Tamara might do 5 deals a month. And again, I'm just like spitballing this, but to prove the point. Because there's more people with 6% down than there are people with 20% down. Like that's just like a fact.
in this area, it's going to be more of this versus if when I start doing it where I am in New York or Florida, it'll be more higher chances I'll get closer to 20% down, but it's just not,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just not the
Which is a
reality.
great point. Like most of my clients are like, you guys ever heard the Walmart, Target, Nordstrom analogy? Like, okay, what kind of clients are you serving? Walmart, Target, or Nordstrom? I typically go after like the Target employees, and typically they have around that 20% down. Or I find more of them that have that 20% down versus, and again, tomorrow, correct me if I'm wrong, but if this is more of like a Walmart style of a deal, like people just don't have that. They're not in that stage of life or not that scenario of life. 6% is like scraping the bottom of the barrel for that type of client. And there's nothing wrong with that. It is what it is. And like I said, tomorrow we'll do a lot more deals than I do. Bill Omi does a lot more deals than I do. Umair Haq does a lot more deals because if I remember right, Umair will do like 3% down, if I'm not mistaken.
So
A
we're in a
similar model.
similar area, so you have to just adjust. I mean, if
Yeah.
I'm choosing to do it in this area, I have to adjust, you know.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. So cool. All right. Hope that helped. Let that sink in. If it just creates more questions for tomorrow, for not tomorrow, for next week, great. Bring more questions. But yeah, eat that frog. Do the hardest thing first, and you'll find that your life changes faster when you do that. So, all right. Appreciate you guys. Have a good week.
Thanks, Dan. We appreciate you.
Appreciate you guys. Take some action. Stay focused. Eat the frog. You got this. And spread the good word about Renatus. Appreciate y'all. Bye for now.